Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, and today I have with me Michelle Raue, Raue,
Route,
uh,
route.
EVP, Chief Claims and Transformation Officer at Preferred Mutual, and so much more. And if I'm not mistaken, you are on the board of Rice. We were both at Rice last week, and I happen to be wearing the Rice shirt today. And actually, not because I was recording with you. This is the first shirt I grab after doing laundry every time. Uh, so Michelle, I'm so excited to have you on the show. First of all, thank you for coming on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. I feel like I've arrived because I'm on your show.
You could have been on years ago. It is my own fault. So for everybody else that is thinking the same thing, like Tony, we're friends. Why haven't I been on the show? Um, if you are a founder at an insurtech, I will probably message you and invite you on. If you have anything else to talk about other than your insurtech, you should probably reach out to me because I might not think of it. So how it finally happened on this one is I started noticing we've been connected since 2017. And lately, the last, I don't know, year, 18 months, it might have been longer, but at some point last year, I started noticing the content that you post, and especially the video content. And over and over and over, I kept just loving your content. Uh, and at some point in the last few weeks, I had on the podcast not Justin, but I'm so bad with names. The other guy,
Brent,
what was that?
Brent,
Brent,
Brent.
thank you. The Brent Core, with Project 55 and Heather Blevins, who got recruited literally last second to help me host that panel or that conversation about Project 55. And it's all they both of those. So Justin Goodman, who didn't join the show, um, Brent Core and Heather Blevins have been very, very heavily involved on the side of mental health, and in the case of Heather, especially when it comes to claims. And you made some sort of comment, and I said we should come on the show. So that's for the listeners. That's kind of what we're talking about today. Um, so let me see where we should start. So you've got a incredible career over, is it all in claims or mostly in claims?
All in claims. I step over to the other side to do strategic stuff, but I'm a claims person at heart.
Okay. Okay. So your LinkedIn doesn't go far to the very beginning, but basically you were head of claims at Southern United Insurance from '03 to 13. Then you led different claims teams and eventually were the VP of claims for State Auto. Then a very interesting move to Lyft, the Uber competitor, as VP head of claims there for 2 years. And then you come back to the traditional insurance world. And for the last 5 years, EVP of Chief of Claims and Transformation Officer. So this is a career in claims. Uh,
Yeah.
my experience in claims was 2 years. One wonderful year at Farm Bureau of Iowa Express Claims Call Center. And it was awesome because it was a very modern call center. They really invested in us. They really taught us insurance. They really helped us fall in love with insurance and gave us a real guidebook on how to grow our insurance career. And I owe so much to those 14 months at Farm Bureau. And then from there, I got a 25% raise thanks to my AIC and my INS and LinkedIn, and moved from the Farm Bureau uh, beautiful headquarter campus in West Des Moines, Iowa, to Nationwide's second biggest office in Des Moines, Iowa, just like, I don't know, 6 miles away from that first one. And that second role was no longer on call center. It was still inside claims. It was still very junior level. Uh, and I hated that second one. Now, and I love Nationwide as a company.
Right.
That the first role had several beautiful advantages. One of which was we were never the bad guys. Basically, if anything was in question, if anything was getting declined or anything like that, the claim went to the next level, we always got to be the hero, and it was really amazing. And I will never forget. I spent the first 3.5 years of my career in transportation as a fleet manager, dispatching truck drivers, and everything was always my fault. That's just the type of industry it is. Uh, like a driver once rolled over a truck on a Sunday, and I didn't even have access to the system on the weekend. Uh, and I came in on Monday and got yelled at because it was my fault. So when I got downsized, it was sweet relief, and then I fall into Farm Bureau of Iowa a month later because there's a lot of insurance work in Des Moines. Like everybody else, fell into insurance by accident, and I started in April. Come November, we started getting a lot of deer hits, and deer hits are exactly the kind of thing that we keep on work ourselves because it's clear liability, not a total loss, no injury. So we keep them working ourselves. So we get overloaded with deer hits. So they call us into a meeting. And what I thought was going to happen was I thought that they were going to say, uh, we need everybody working overtime, mandatory overtime, right? Because that's what would have happened in transportation. Mandatory unpaid overtime because we were salary over in transportation. Um, and what they said instead was, we have budget approval to bring in new people for the team in January. It's only November. Things are going to be busy for the next couple of months. Do your best. Don't worry about it. And I was blown away. Like married to insurance from that day forward. Um, but that's very different from what I saw at Nationwide. And it's not a nationwide problem. It's not a big N nationwide problem. It's a little N nationwide problem. And I know that because at chatwithtony.com, my free career advice service gets the most common call I get, maybe 30% of calls that I get. So over 100 a year are, how do I get out of claims? And that's a problem,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit about your perspective on the mental health side of claims. How do we make it better? What have you seen out there?
Yeah. I mean, your path is kind of typical because people will get into claims, do it for a little bit of time, and then realize, hey, this is not for me. I mean, we used to run training classes where we'd bring people in who'd never been in insurance, never been in claims, put them in a training program, run it about 8 weeks, put them out there, and you'd always invariably lose about 50% of those folks.
Before day one or before the end of year one?
Well, yeah, they'd work about 6 months, maybe a year, and then they'd start falling out because claims is very, very unique because you are never meeting somebody on their best day, right?
Mm-hmm,
They
mm-hmm.
always have had a loss. And when people have had a loss, they are stressed. They don't know what to do. Um, it's Most of us have insurance. We pay for it. We're frustrated because we have to pay for this thing and we don't use it, right? I mean, most people have one or two losses in their entire lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they have a loss, they're stressed out. They don't know what to do. They
Mm-hmm.
take it out on that claim rep who is there. Um, it's a very stressful job. And so either the people that you see, like me, who have been doing it for 35 years, either love it or you can't wait to find something else to do in the insurance
So
industry.
so your own story. What kept you around in claims? Why didn't you go to underwriting or just leave the industry?
I started in claims 35 years ago at the big one, State
Thank,
Farm.
thank you for your service.
Thank you. And act completely accidentally, I worked for a savings and loan that got taken over by the federal government, had no job, and said, what are we going to do now? The girl that worked next to me's father was a state farm agent. She said, let's go apply for a claim job. I'm like, I don't have any idea what that is. So I go in, I start this claims job. But the way I looked at it is, yes, these people are hurting. They've had a loss. They don't understand, they need help. And I come at it from that attitude of, I can help these people get back to where they were before this loss. And that has always been my driving focus is, you want to make it right.
That is
Um,
the right way to look at it. But quick question. Um, was that a very call centerized job when you started, or was it
No,
okay? So yeah, because that is one thing that I I believe our current executives have a hard time understanding how different that job is today from what it was back in that day. So I'd love to hear a little bit of what it was like.
I say today I don't even know how claims people come in and learn the job and actually like it because you're on the phone most of the time now. When I
Mm-hmm.
started, we this is when they had neighborhood claims offices. We had to meet these people in person. I mean, I was
Mm-hmm.
out in the field all the time and I would go look at the vehicles. I would, I could write an estimate. I would meet people in their kitchen table and settle their injury claims. It was much more personal and
Mm-hmm.
had that interaction. And it's much easier to get mad at somebody over the phone than it is to
So
person.
perfect, perfect. Okay, so that's exactly what the perception, and I'm glad I'm glad this is not just a chat over coffee, but that we're actually recording this because I wrote my book about millennials in insurance 8 years ago, and I've been speaking about millennials in insurance for 11 years at different insurance conferences, and I always use this example of the entry level job 20 years ago and the entry level job today, right? So the entry level job 20 years ago or 35 years ago, the classic entry level job was exactly that. Was a field claims, maybe even multi-line, maybe not, but still field. And it's a job where you had kind of like windshield time or in between time in between seeing people. Also, people dealing with people after a loss in person, they're just going to be nicer, right? And you're going to learn a lot more. It's a lot less abstract. It's a lot more real, right? The value of what we do is so immediately real. Um, and you're going to learn a lot. You're going to have a chance to pay your dues. Right. I hate that phrase, but you're going to have a chance to pay your dues, and you're going to see significant growth, and you're really going to figure out, am I a claims person, or was this good training to go to another part of insurance? The way we do them today, when I wrote my book about millennials, the view out my window was the gigantic State Farm headquarters in the southeast, which the most expensive building that ever sold in the history of Atlanta, Georgia. And it was sold from one State Farm company to another, basically to a holding company. Uh, and this was before COVID. And in my book, I didn't call them out by name because I didn't want to get sued. But I did say that was a really bad idea because your younger employees don't want to work there. They want to be remote. And then COVID happened. But anyway, that building is a giant call center packed with claims people. And this is not a State Farm problem. It's a general large carrier problem. Um, those poor kids, and kids is anybody younger than me, who did not plan to work in insurance when they grew up, they come in with no insurance experience. They get trained on how to use the system and maybe get licensed if the states are working required to get licensed. And all they're doing all day is grinding out personal auto claims, not learning much, and they get mistreated by the customer. And that's State Farm who has these customers. May God save your soul if you're in the Progressive call center, right? Where it attracts a price shopper that will, statistically speaking, is likely to treat you worse. Uh, and we expect those people to grow and have great insurance careers, whether it's in claims or outside of claims. No, it's a burnout factory, and they'll never come back to insurance.
Yeah, it's really hard. And I mean, I remember the tips my boss gave me when I was going out to settle claims, and it was all about, what you see and what you notice. He's like, I was working in southern rural Alabama, and he would say, when you get to their house, do they have a washing machine on their front porch? And people say, why would anybody have a washing machine on their front porch? Well, it's rural Alabama, but all their clothes are hanging outside on a clothesline. The value of their claim is that the dryer they need fixed to dry their clothes. So you could really get to know people and have a better rapport than you can have on the phone. And I think, we've seen over the years as we've moved to this, because I was working in the State Farm model that had a claims office in every city, and
Oh,
they
awesome.
was close, and that's what they moved up to Atlanta, and said we don't need to be with the people anymore. And I also agree. I think it was a huge mistake. But now, you're we see that these attorney rep rates and all the bad things about insurance happen now because we just don't have that same connection and same rapport. And it really feeds that whole model of insurance is bad, and it's easier to hate people who are on the phone than it
In
is to
it, it-
them.
yes, being in person humanizes you, and being on the phone dehumanizes you. Um,
And we still have opportunities. I mean, we still go to people's houses when it burns down, right? We send our people out. I've stood there on slabs with people after hurricanes and their house is completely gone. And I don't know that we'll ever lose that connection. And even the connection on the phone, we're getting in this world of all the AI and AI doing all the things, and will claims handlers be even needed? Yes, because
yes,
people want to tell somebody, a human, that they had a loss, and they want somebody to hear it because they need to get that off their chest. And so there are ways to do it on the phone. It just takes more effort, and we've got to
and
invest in better training for these folks, and
yes,
how to be super empathetic and
yes.
portray that same kind of in-person connection on the phone. And I think
Yes.
it's doable.
I agree 1,000% with that. What I say in my book and in my session on millennials and soon on Gen Zers, because my Gen Z book is finally coming out later this year, early next year. It's only 8 years late from when I said it would. Um, but what I say is our expense ratio can handle going back to the field. I get that. Uh, but we have to figure out a way to make the job a career. We have to figure out a way to teach them those skills that will not only help them grow their careers, but that will help them do the job right. Or either they should do it backwards. That will help them do the job right and grow their careers. Uh, and it is just harder to it's a boiler room. It's a lot harder, and we have to we have not done that. So we've successfully moved the operation to the call center. In the we've successfully lowered short-term expenses, but when you measure them in the long term, I guarantee you that it's more expensive because everybody that burns out, we have to replace and retrain. Uh,
Absolutely.
the training that we need to give them needs to include that empathy. It needs to include the time to do things. The chances are those call centers get measured on time on call, which is insanity. And that's not the main topic of today's conversation, but it is true insanity, right? With a service that is nothing more than a promise, and where 95% in personal lines, 95% of your clients didn't have a claim this year. So your two chances to touch them is renewal, which where their rate likely went up, even or their premium, not maybe their rate, their premium went up, um, even though they didn't have a claim and they don't understand why. And number two, when they have a claim, is their time to shine. And we've become, in my experience, kind of a bipolar industry where if you have a large claim, your experience is really good. If you have a small claim, your experience is not. And I do want to touch on the AI piece. Okay. Take it from me. Lately, by the way, we're recording on on Tuesday, June 24th. Tomorrow, June 25th, uh, episode 700 of this podcast is coming out. Okay. And we've
Yeah.
already recorded another 20 or 30. The majority of those episodes are me interviewing insurtech founders, tech people. And for the last 18 months, all they can talk about is AI, right? And as a non-technical guy, it's very hard for me to suss out what's a real AI company, what's little more than a ChatGPT API call. But I asked them all, whether it's during the call or when we're debriefing after recording, I asked them all, is this going to eliminate our jobs? And none of them are saying that. They're all saying we're going to give you superpowers, basically. So no, the claims adjuster will be I believe, a very educated guess, that the uh, middle market, larger and specialized underwriter, the the agent and broker that specializes in commercial lines, especially larger middle market and larger commercial lines, and claims adjusters are the three roles that will never ever get automated away.
And that's because those are the ones that need to touch a customer. And I look at it in the claims space as those high frequency, low severity losses that you can get like those deer claims that you had when you were at your call center,
Mhm.
right? We can make those go through a system and be very low touch, and the customer will be happier, right? They just want an estimate and their money and move on, right?
Mhm.
Those kind of claims, if we can clear those out, I call that the noise, and free up the reps to actually talk to people who need to be talked to
Yes.
and spend more time with them. You said a minute ago about call centers and how the metrics are, how long you're on a call. They want you to be on a call a shorter amount of time. I fight that every day. Like I tell our call center folks all the time, when we get a loss and those first notice of loss reps are taking the loss, I want them to spend every minute they need to get all the information so we can get that claim routed the right way. And that is what the customer needs. And I think that I fortunately am a claims leader who started in the field in claims, and I know what it is to sit at that desk. And those are the most important people in our company. Anybody that is customer facing, talking to the customer, we need to support them the best we can. And I think that we get leaders who forget that, who forget
Absolutely. A
where
thousand percent. Uh, my best friend Andrew Holland, and we grew up together at Nationwide. When I showed up at Nationwide, he had been there for a few years, and he was in BI, and I came in for a job in MedPay, and we sat just a few desks away from each other. We both had our CPC, no, excuse me, we both had our MBA and our AIC, and then I harassed him into getting his CPCU. He stayed in claims, I didn't. He went to Cincinnati Insurance, which treats their claims people fantastically well. It's a heavy field claims organization. They have a thousand field claims adjusters to this day, right?
great.
And Andrew himself has several years ago relocated from Des Moines to headquarters in Cincinnati and has had amazing growth. He's going to be, I'm calling it right now. He's going to be a chief claims officer for them someday. And uh, I remember we would go walk around the skywalk in Des Moines, because the Des Moines office of Nationwide is connected to the second largest skywalk in the country. I think the largest is Minneapolis. So summer, winter, whatever, we're walking on the skywalk, and fixing the world's problems. And I remember he used to say the problem is that most insurance leaders, especially at the large companies like the one we work for, managed by spreadsheets. And I'm the optimist. He calls himself a realist. I'm the optimist. The more that I've grown up, I went through Nationwide's financial leadership rotation program, where I got to look behind the curtain, and then both through Insurance Nerds and through my recruiting firm. And when I worked at Jacobson as a recruiter, and now at this recruiting firm that I run, I get to sit with the leadership as they're looking for talent. And yes, he was right. Very, very often, big decisions are made by spreadsheet, and people that either never sat on the chair or that have forgotten. Or one of the big things is they don't realize how much the entry level job has changed from 35 years ago to today. And it's a
Yeah.
significant problem. Um,
Yeah. It's amazing the things I hear, and they go back to the same thing about those call center metrics. They look at all these metrics and forget that there are people behind those. We can't, we look at our world in FTEs, instead of that this is a person. not a cost, right? And I think that you will see, you know, you hear horror stories of people who work for certain carriers and they burn them out. And it's
Mm-hmm.
all a culture thing. And that's one of the reasons I left the big giant organizations is that I felt like I wasn't going to impact anything
Mm-hmm.
happening. And I really wanted to. I wanted to make the job at the desk better for people. I tell people all the time my title should just be bulldozer driver because it's my job to get all the crap out of the way for the people who actually do the job. They're more
Uh-huh.
important so they can do it. And that includes their sanity and their mental health because we have to understand that having an FTE be able to handle this many claims is not the answer. Where is the threshold of what keeps them in it and makes them feel fulfilled without burning them out? Because
So,
claims is hard.
what I tell people career advice wise is, uh, claims is not claims is not for everyone, but it's a great place to start your insurance career, right? And depending on how long they've been in the seat, and what companies they work for and what roles they've had, I help them diagnose whether claims are not for them or whether they're just in the right bus or in the wrong bus or in the wrong seats, right? Maybe they've just been at Progressive or Geico or the Generals, God forbid, uh, call center, and like maybe if they move to commercial lines, they'll love it. Maybe if they move to large loss or litigation, they'll love it, right? And I do my best to keep them within claims if I can. And then the ones that have had uh good claims experience or have worked for good claims departments and still don't like claims, then I help them find their way to other departments, right? But my goal is keep them in the industry. Uh, my dream is that when we hire, especially the companies that hire tons and tons and tons of entry level claims people, whether right out of college or right out of wherever, and you put them in a call center. My dream is that every one of those conversations start with, "Hey, claims is not for everyone, but insurance is. Give us 2 to 3 good years in the call center in claims. And during those 2 to 3 good years, we will help you learn claims. We'll help you learn insurance. We'll help you learn the different places you can grow, whether it's in claims or not in claims. And by the end of the third year, you will know where in insurance you have a future, and we will help you get there, right?"
Well, who better to know? I mean, I tell people all the time, like you said, if you come in and you decide claims is not for you, you have the experience behind
Yes.
what
Yes.
happens to a policy when a loss happens. And so anywhere else you move, I say ex claim reps make the best underwriters, right?
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
they have seen what happens when underwriting misses something or the policy reads incorrectly. They know all that stuff and they take it with them and can just make it better, um, all the way around. So
I,
yeah, I'm a big fan of, and you might be an underwriter and not like it, and I've seen underwriters come to claims and thrive.
that
So
that that move at that move is either a lot less common or they're a lot less likely to give me a call. One of the two. I think I've chatted with two people that have made a move from underwriting to claims. Now, my best friend, who I mentioned earlier, he won't go to underwriting. He says it's too theoretical, right? Like
yeah,
too hypothetical,
I like the people.
right?
I like the real
Um,
real thing.
and that's fine. My point is let's eventually get people in the right seat instead of burning them out, right? Um, so so now sticking to claims. Okay, so for the people that would be fantastic claims professionals if we help them grow within claims and that there's term burning out, what can we do, right? If I'm a frontline manager, uh, right, maybe I don't yet have support from upstairs. They're still managing by spreadsheet, but I have the chance of being that frontline manager, from that supervisor. What can I do to help my team with the mental health aspect?
Yeah, I mean, It's hard to do without support from the company. I mean, you need some help. But that's another place where you've really got to invest in really good training, because those frontline managers are the most important people. That whole frontline, managers and workers, most important. We don't invest enough. We usually
Mm-hmm.
technically great people and make them managers, and they don't know how to navigate that. But it's, if you see somebody that's getting in trouble and they're starting to suffer, all of the signs of burnout and stress, you've got to have some relief valve. I mean, you've got to, like, I've seen really good buddy systems work, where somebody who's really good and been there a while and knows how to navigate the claim space teams up with, a newer person that's getting burned out,
Wonderful.
and helps them kind of figure out their day and what's most important, and here's how you manage through this. But I also think, I mean, we as a company offer a really good benefits package that includes mental health support. I'm getting on the, and they have that is all now virtual and everything. So it's easy to get yourself a therapist. And I hope that more and more companies start offering that out there, because I can remember claims back when I first started that I still remember vividly to this day that were so traumatic. I mean, death claims that happened that I had to go meet with families and deal with as a young 20-something-year-old, and I didn't have any of that support. I mean, you can actually get PTSD from handling claims. It's real. So I urge leaders that I run into all the time, you've got to offer some mental health
So
benefits.
I'm assuming you're talking about the EAP program.
Well,
Oh,
yeah, I mean, we've teamed up with Better Health.
oh,
I mean,
fantastic.
so they have, they could see a Better Help rep or psychiatrist or whatever they
Mhm.
are, um, every other week for a year. I
Oh
mean,
my God.
yeah,
This is brilliant. And I have not heard of any other carrier doing that. So for anybody listening, that's Preferred Mutual in New York. If you're looking for a place that actually treats their claims people well. But for the leaders that are listening to this is a fantastic idea. Uh,
it's necessary. And one of the things I love that you're coming out with a new book on Gen Z, because I love Gen Z. If you watch some of my videos that I post, I'm always applauding Gen Z because they don't keep silent. They talk about their mental health needs. And I've had leaders in my Gen X circles just really get frustrated with that and say, they just need to sit down and shut up and
so
work.
okay.
I'm
So,
like, I am so glad that they talk about it and they are forcing our hands at providing these things that we needed way back when I was a claim.
yes. So number one, I said this in the prior podcast about mental health. Thank you, Gen Z. Thank you for opening up this topic, which we used to be a taboo, and which is so important, especially in claims. Number two, for Gen Xers, who tend to be no BS uh, managers, and they tend to be pragmatic. They tend to be about getting it done, right? No BS. So for Gen Xers, just like I've been telling boomers about millennials for 11 years that I've been speaking about millennials, Gen Xers, you raised them. Your kids are Gen Zers.
Know it. And that's what I think is amazing. I'm like, we raised them to be this
Yes,
way. Be
you
vocal,
raised them, and
baby.
your own kids are driving another industry crazy. This is fantastic because I have a great line in my millennial session where I say, "Boomers, uh, uh, you raised us. Your own kids are driving another industry crazy." And I just realized that in my upcoming Gen Z talk after the book, it's gonna be Gen Xers. You raised them.
And we raised them
Love
well.
it.
And I'm so proud
So
of them.
so
I feel like a proud mama because I am so proud
good,
of
good, good.
how,
Uh, and
socially responsible they are, and they fight for their mental health. And I'm
and And this
Well,
is good for all of us. This is
yeah,
good for all of us. And boomers. So we still have boomers in our industry. And we're recording this in 2025. The boomers, the last boomer was born around 40, around 64. Uh, so I remember when I first gave my presentation on millennials, I said that it's 2014. The last boomer, the youngest boomer will turn 50 this year. Now in 2025, the youngest boomer will turn 61 this year. Boomers, I'm gonna say this with all the love, and this is me. This is not Michelle. uh, with all the love, if you cannot handle Gen Zers and their desire for better mental health, go ahead and retire. Honestly, like you're not doing anybody any favors. Your 401k is doing great. Or you might have to wait for the right week in the current crazy environment. But your home is worth more than ever. Go ahead and retire, or move to a role that does not require you to manage young people. Okay, going after that
Gen
part of this.
Xers are worse because that we all feel like, we were latchkey kids. We didn't get any support. We pulled ourselves up by the bootstraps, and everybody else ought to do that same thing. But we all look, and then we look across and see all of the mental health problems that we had and didn't have any help with. So we're kidding ourselves.
the Gen Xers, and I have spent the last 11 years in my presentation being funny and saying this presentation is about millennials and boomers and how we're different from each other. And Gen Xers, as you're very used to, you're going to be ignored, right? Now, my Gen Z presentation will be heavy on Gen Xers, but Gen Xers, this is your time. You are inheriting the positions of power, right? Millennials don't have enough experience, and many of us wasted too much time in the call center. You are survivors. You're like the Vietnam vets of the corporate world going forward. You're survivors, and there's not enough of you, and you are going to inherit the positions of power, but you will never have the numbers because you're a small generation, and many of you left the industry after the '09 recession. For those of you that stayed, you will run this industry for the next decade at least. But if you don't run it in a way that your millennials and your Gen Zers, which are the bulk of your workforce going forward, already today and going forward, if you don't run it in a way that we love, we are going to vote with our feet.
That's right. That's right. And
Uh,
and we can't afford that. We got to bring them into this industry. So you better be providing the things that they want. I mean, we went we're a little carrier in the Northeast and we've done all kind of crazy stuff. But I come from a world of unlimited PTO. I convinced this little 125-year-old company to let's input unlimited PTO. We have decided not to return to the office. I mean, all of these things, the mental health benefits. We just launched a thing to help them pay off their student debt. I mean, all of these things that they are going to insist
you're gonna
on
make me cry.
better start providing because that you're exactly right. They go to the places that they can get those things.
You're gonna make me cry. This makes me so excited. Uh, oh my God. Basically, it's like somebody had preferred. I'm gonna assume it was you, but it could have been somebody else. It's like somebody had preferred read my book and is implementing everything I've suggested. And my book is from before COVID, so you guys are ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And
We have a whole bunch of great senior leaders and they get it, right? I mean, it's just like, and we're small and we're nimble and we don't have to, it doesn't go through layers of leadership. So
how
thank
many
God.
employees?
We have about 315, I think,
Okay, so yeah,
but
you're small enough that it's rather
we
easy
have
to make
gotten
changes.
our engagement surveys are through the roof. And we just have a really, really good culture and we mean it. I mean, our statement is people first and we mean it.
That's amazing. As far as you know, are you the only traditional carrier that is offering unlimited PTO?
No, well, when I left, before I left State Auto, we had implemented
Yeah,
it
but
there.
Liberty killed that.
Yeah, Liberty took it away.
I was so thrilled when Mike, what's Mike's last name, for CEO of State Auto, when they sold.
Rocco,
When
great.
when LaRocco told me in person at APCIA, I don't know, 2018 or 2019 or something in the lines, that he's like, I can't, he's like, you can't say this out loud because it's not public knowledge yet, but next week we're announcing unlimited PTO. And I was like, that is so freaking exciting. Uh, the insurtechs almost all offer unlimited PTO. So if you want to compete with insurtech for talent, you have to.
Yeah, I mean, when I went to Lyft, we had it. And you get all of the negative, even people say, well, if you give unlimited PTO, people are going to take less PTO and they need to take PTO. Well, there's all,
It's set minimums. It's very easy.
but you know, it has to be managed and you have to teach
Yes.
how to manage it, but it takes away the stress of, especially I am an advocate for it for the working moms out there. And because we used to have to bucket our time off. We could actually take these vacations with the time. Then we had to save a bucket in case our kids were sick or they had a field trip or something like that. And you shouldn't have to do that. Take the vacations you need to take so that you can recharge and help your mental health, right? Because you need that time off. And then don't worry about those things that are going to come up that, are days here and days there. That just takes the stress completely out of it.
I agreed 10,000%. 10,000%. This is Michelle, this is so awesome. So in my world, like, I'm very theoretical. What I mean by that is, well, on one hand, I have my feet firmly planted on the ground in the talent wars, because every day I chat with either hiring managers that I'm helping recruit, or with the people that I'm recruiting, or with people that call chatwithtony.com for career advice. So every day, all I talk about, other than magic, all I talk about is talent within insurance. But I've never been a manager. So a lot of the ideas that a lot of what I do is bring ideas from the rest of the economy to insurance, and encourage insurance companies to follow them, right? Uh, but it is awesome when I run into people like you, or like Justin Gress Advantage, who's coming on the podcast soon, or people like that are actually implementing the crazy ideas that I can only talk about, right? And it's awesome to run to you guys and have a coffee or a beer out on the road, but it's beyond awesome to have you on the podcast where this can actually be a conversation to enlighten the rest of the industry. Uh, Gen Xers, you let me put it this way: every new C-level role, 99.9% of C-level roles filled in 2025, 2026, 2027 are not going to be boomers. They're going to be Gen Xers. Um, you have the power to modernize this industry and to do it right. And you know what, millennials and Gen Zers, if you fight for us and help us create the company of our dreams, that's going to be great for all of us, not just for us. We will follow you to hell and back.
Yes.
We will fight for you. We will be the foot soldiers. You just need to lead us right, and in a way that makes sense to us, and that it makes sense to the 21st century. We're in freaking 2025. Back to the future. If Marty got in his DeLorean and went to 2015, that is 10 years ago, people.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
it's amazing. And I hope that people will listen to this and say, hey, those are good ideas. I mean,
li-
more
little
people
by little. Uh,
are
my
chipping
my
away at.
my mother-in-law, um, in Ohio, uh, a few years ago, she took us to a protest, to a guns protest, right? Uh, and after the protest, like a week later, she's like, "Well, that was a waste of time. Nothing happened, right? No changes happened." And I said, I'm the history nerd in the family. They're very good at math. I'm very good at history. I said, uh, protests don't change things right away, but it's the only way that things ever change. And I say the same thing about education and about ideas. Right, bringing new ideas into the industry never change things right away, but it's the only way that things change. And I am so proud that insurance nerds, we brought in the idea of student loan reimbursement into the industry. The industry already had tuition reimbursement, 50 to 50 a year at most companies, sometimes a little bit higher, but generally 50 to 50. Um, we I can document how an insurance nerds article started this conversation with insurance, and then I've spoken about it a lot at in conferences. And now there are multiple carriers that offer it, including some very large carriers. Um, and again, I've never been a manager. Quite simply, banging the drum for years and years and years, at this point over a decade, bringing in great ideas into insurance, and maybe not all of them were great, but some of them. Uh, but yes, conversations like this uh, are how changes eventually happen. And the way that I've always imagined it is, uh, you plant the seeds and eventually start flowering. They start flowering in the most random places. My favorite play, and I'm a big musicals nerd. But my favorite play is Hamilton, and I've seen Hamilton so many times. I saw it in Chicago like 6 times. I saw it in New York now, I think twice. And then the soundtrack is my constant soundtrack of my life. Hamilton, Lin-Manuel Miranda has this great line where he says, "What is a legacy? A legacy is planting a garden that you never get to see."
Right.
And that is what we're doing. We're planting the garden of change, and hopefully we'll get to see some of it. But hopefully someday, long after I'm gone, uh, some crazy kid who's 30 years younger than me will go. Old Tony, when he was 85, told me a story of how he brought student loan reimbursement to the industry, right? Or Michelle told me a story of how they were the only carrier that had unlimited PTO. Now we all do. Or Heather uh, told me a story of how they brought mental health awareness to the claims side of the insurance industry.
Yep. Just
What
one
can be
voice,
better than that?
all we can do, right?
Exactly. Michelle, this has been a true pleasure. What a wonderful conversation. Love your posts and videos on LinkedIn. And keep doing what you're doing. And I am so impressed with Preferred. Uh, so impressed. Yeah, thank you. This platform is open to you whenever you want. Thank you so much for your time today.
It's been awesome. Thanks. I feel honored to be here.